Well, let's move on from all of that's happening in Canada to what's happening in America, Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So we're not gonna get into everything's happening with the pandemic and all that. I mean, there's a lot of reporting on that, but just in terms of the race coming up, Joe Biden, Donald Trump. What are your thoughts right now on how the Joe Biden campaign is doing, or maybe what they need to do to defeat Donald Trump, or if you think, I mean, your approach to voting, if you were an American, how would you feel about this election? What do you think you may do, or is there still 6 months to really think about it?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't make my decision now. I think a lot of people have been said, like, whether or not you're a harm reduction voter or you're, vote your ideals voter. I think declaring your situation right now is maybe not tactically wise.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's months and months to make that decision. And the way I've approached it on my channel is similar to you, which is that, I'm not going to vote shame people. If you believe that the best option is to tactically vote for Biden because you worry about marginalized people, and that's the decision you're going to make, I respect that. Or if you're like, because of Tara Reid, his right-wing ideology, the Democratic Party's general failures, that you can't bring yourself to vote for Biden and or most down-ballot Democrats, and you want to vote for the Green Party or whoever, I respect that as well. And maybe that sounds like fence sitting, but like my honest position is like, I don't want to get into this vote shaming business, right? Like state your case, make your position, and go with it. Honestly, if I was an American, I don't know what I would do. 4 years ago, I would have voted for Hillary. I would have probably would have had to bring like a bag to throw up in after I did it, but I would have done it. But Biden has all the political scandals of Hillary with even more personal scandals, and there's not even the hope that having a woman president, however flawed she is, could inspire some people. Like there's none of that here, so I don't know what I would do. Honestly, I really don't. I really don't know. And in terms of what Biden needs to do, I mean, I think he needs to just move to where the majority of Americans are if he wants to guarantee a win. Trump's doing so bad that Biden might still win, right? Like, in spite of all of his failures, Trump's just been worse, and he continues to poll well, and he's even polling decently in some red states or some, like Georgia and stuff, right? So maybe Biden has to do nothing. Maybe the neoliberals are right, and like he can just coast to victory. But I'm skeptical because Hillary was polling this strongly 6 months out. But I mean, I guess from my perspective, he needs to look and see that like 70% of Americans want Medicare for all. His own party, but even a majority of independents want Medicare for all. And that if there was ever a time to change your mind on something and not look like a flip-flopper, it's now, where you could easily make the case that this crisis has changed my mind on healthcare systems that require you to have a job status. And I've learned the error of my ways. And I think if he makes that move, a lot of people wouldn't believe him. But I think the average Bernie voter, not the very online Bernie voters, would probably be very impressed by that and would move to him. But I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I think you're right about that in terms of if he were to adopt Medicare for all. I think the real issue, though, is there's no chance he ever will, simply because of the interests that run the party. And ultimately, though, I agree with like most of what you're saying. I think voter shaming is not the right way to win people over. I think regardless of how you're going to vote, I think you should understand that different people have different ways of voting. And sure, it's good to communicate how you feel about an issue and maybe try and convince people, but don't convince people by shaming them for voting the way they're going to vote. I just don't think it's effective. And yeah, Joe Biden, at this point, look, this can all change because we got 6 months, but at this point, I think Joe Biden would win. And it's because Trump is such a disaster right now. And all Joe Biden, as you said, has to do, I think, is just hide. And, I think that's enough. The more Joe Biden shows his face, the more he says dumb things that get out in the media or go out online. If he just hides, sits back, and just becomes the person that isn't Trump, I think he can coast to victory. And this is really a rare situation, a rare election where that's the case. Usually Democrats have to actually excite
I wouldn't
voters.
Have believed it.
Yeah, completely. I think COVID has really exposed how horrible Trump is for a lot of people. And I think that's really what's going to drive a big turnout for really against Donald Trump. And because of that, for Joe Biden.
Yeah, I still think you don't want to be too complacent, right? Because, like, again, there were tons, like, everyone was sharing the Quinnipiac poll. You and I both did videos on that, or I did something on my live stream. But like Hillary was leading polls in some cases 12, 13, 14 points this far out. The New York Times a couple weeks ago, at least, I think Biden's polling's improved a bit, said that Biden leads Trump up by smaller amounts than Hillary did in the previous cycle. So like nothing is guaranteed, right? But it does seem like if there ever is going to be an election where you can put up a Democratic candidate with views that don't represent his party, with clear cognitive decline, who's hiding in his basement, and still win, and maybe win big, like this would be that one election.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks again, Christo, for coming on. Plug your channel. Where can people find you?
Yeah, if people want to see my work, you can see it here on YouTube. David will have a link in the description, but it's just Christo Aivalis. If you YouTube search that, it should be the first or second thing that comes up. It's also just my name, all one word, on Twitter. You can find me there. You can also find me on Facebook. I have a couple pages and stuff there. Or you can add me as a friend on Facebook. That's where my work is. I also have written for the Washington Post, Globe and Mail, Maclean's, Passage. You can find that if you just Google me. But check me out on YouTube. If you like David's stuff, you should like at least some of my stuff.
You'll like all of his stuff. Christo does awesome work. Definitely check him out. I'll have all the links below the video in the description box. Christo, thanks again.
Thanks for having me.